Your mind is lying to you right now. Every anxious thought, every spiral of worry, every sleepless night replaying conversations, none of it is protecting you. It's destroying you. The Stoics figured this out 2,000 years ago, and what they discovered will dismantle every negative pattern you've built. This isn't philosophy for academics, this is survival. Negative thinking feels productive. It tricks you into believing you're preparing for disaster, solving problems, staying vigilant. But you're not. You're rehearsing suffering that hasn't happened and probably never will. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, had infinite reasons to drown in anxiety, wars, plagues, betrayals. Yet he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He understood something most people never grasp. Your thoughts don't reflect reality, they create it. Here's what's actually happening. Your brain evolved to spot danger, not truth. It's biased toward catastrophe because your ancestors who worried about saber-toothed tigers survived longer than the optimists. That wiring made sense 10,000 years ago. Now it's making you miserable over an email you haven't sent yet, or a conversation that went slightly wrong 3 days ago. The threats have changed. Your brain hasn't. The first brutal truth the Stoics teach: most of what you fear is imaginary, not hypothetical, not unlikely, imaginary. Seneca put it bluntly. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Think about the last time you catastrophized. Maybe you convinced yourself you'd lose your job after one mistake. Maybe you spiraled because someone didn't text back. What actually happened? Probably nothing close to what you invented in your head. Your mind created an entire disaster film, cast you as the victim, and forced you to watch it on repeat. This isn't about positive thinking or pretending problems don't exist. It's about recognizing that 90% of your suffering is self-inflicted fiction. You're not battling the world. You're battling the stories you tell yourself about the world. Let me show you how this works in practice. Imagine you're about to give a presentation. Negative thinking says, "I'll forget everything. They'll think I'm incompetent. My career is over." Notice what just happened. You jumped from a future event to total catastrophe in 3 seconds. Your brain presented this as logical analysis. It's not. It's a horror story you're writing in real time. The Stoic approach? Strip it down. What do you actually know? You have a presentation, that's it. Everything else, the forgetting, the judgment, the career collapse, is speculation. Epictetus taught his students to separate what's in their control from what isn't. You control your preparation. You don't control how people react. Obsessing over their reactions isn't planning, it's volunteering for torture. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. The Stoics would say you're addicted to this suffering. Not because you're broken, but because negative thinking gives you something. An excuse. If you've already decided you'll fail, you don't have to try as hard. If you've convinced yourself people will judge you, you're protected when they do. Your negativity isn't defense. It's resignation dressed up as wisdom. Second brutal truth. Your thoughts aren't facts. They're events in your head, no more real than a dream. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. Your anxious brain screaming that you're not good enough? That's one perspective. It happens to be wrong, but it's loud, so you believe it. Watch what happens when you treat thoughts like weather. A storm doesn't ask permission to roll through. Neither does anxiety, but you wouldn't stand in a thunderstorm and say, "This rain is who I am." You'd wait for it to pass. Thoughts work the same way. That voice telling you you're a failure, it's not revelation, it's noise. Let it pass. The difference between people who drown in negativity and those who don't isn't that one group has better circumstances. It's that one group learned to stop believing every thought that crosses their mind. You wouldn't trust a stranger who constantly lied to you. Why trust your anxious brain? Third truth, and this one stings. Nobody is thinking about you as much as you think they are. Your embarrassing moment from last week? The one you've replayed 400 times? Nobody else remembers it. They're too busy replaying their own. You're the star of your anxiety, but you're barely a background character in anyone else's story. Negative thinking convinces you that you're under constant scrutiny. Every mistake magnified, every flaw exposed. But most people are so consumed with their own worries they wouldn't notice if you showed up wearing a traffic cone as a hat. The judgment you fear is mostly projection. You're doing to yourself what you imagine others are doing to you. Here's the shift. When you catch yourself spiraling about what someone thinks of you, pause. Ask yourself, do I have evidence or do I have imagination? 9 times out of 10, it's imagination. You invented their judgment, assigned it to them, then tortured yourself with it. They didn't do anything, you did. Now, the Stoics weren't naive. Bad things happen. People do judge you sometimes. You will fail occasionally. But here's what they understood that changes everything. Suffering before something happens doesn't reduce the suffering if it actually happens. It just means you suffer twice. Once in anticipation, once in reality. That realization alone can cut your emotional pain in half. Stop rehearsing disaster. If something bad occurs, you'll handle it then. Until then, you're just burning energy on ghosts. And that brings us to the foundation of everything else, because once you see how your mind manufactures most of your misery, you can't unsee it. The question becomes, what do you do with that knowledge? You start by watching yourself think, not controlling it, not fighting it, just observing. Like you're a scientist studying a peculiar creature. Because that's what your mind is, a machine that generates thoughts, most of them useless, some of them destructive, a handful worth keeping. Here's the practice. Next time anxiety hits, don't argue with it. Don't try to logic your way out. Just narrate what's happening. I'm having the thought that I'm going to fail, not I'm going to fail. See the difference? One is a story your brain is telling, the other is you believing the story is reality. This distance, this tiny gap between thought and belief, is where freedom lives. Epictetus called it the discipline of assent. You don't control what thoughts appear, but you control which ones you endorse. Most people skip that step. A thought arrives, they accept it automatically, and suddenly they're drowning in emotions they never chose. But you're not most people anymore. You're learning to pause, to question, to recognize that just because your brain says something doesn't make it true. Now let's go deeper. Because negative thinking isn't just random, it follows patterns. Your brain has favorite scripts it loves to run. I'm not good enough. People don't like me. I always mess things up. These aren't insights, they're habits. Grooves worn so deep your thoughts slide into them automatically. And here's what's insidious. These patterns feel like protection. If you expect the worst, disappointment hurts less, right? Wrong. Expecting the worst doesn't cushion the blow, it just guarantees you suffer before anything bad even happens. You're not protecting yourself, you're volunteering for extra pain. Think about how much energy you waste on scenarios that never occur. The conversation that goes badly in your head but perfectly fine in reality. The presentation you're sure will be a disaster that actually goes well. The rejection you're convinced is coming that never arrives. You've been training yourself in catastrophe, rehearsing failure, practicing misery. And then you wonder why optimism feels impossible. But what if you trained yourself differently? What if you practiced noticing when things go right with the same intensity you practice imagining them going wrong? This isn't toxic positivity, it's rebalancing your attention. Because right now your brain is like a metal detector calibrated to only find trash. Of course, everything looks bleak. Here's an experiment that costs nothing. For 1 week, every evening, write down 3 things that didn't go wrong that day. Not things that went spectacularly right, just things that were okay. The meeting that was fine, the commute that was uneventful, the conversation that didn't turn into conflict. Your brain will resist this. It'll say, "But that's boring, that's not worth noting." That resistance is the negativity bias screaming because you're starving it. Keep going anyway. You're not trying to become delusional. You're trying to see clearly. And seeing clearly means noticing reality, not just the catastrophes your mind invents. Now here's where this gets practical. Because philosophy that doesn't change your behavior is just entertainment. You need tactics you can deploy when negativity hits in real time. First tactic, the 5-second rule. When a negative thought appears, you have roughly 5 seconds before it hooks you emotionally. In those 5 seconds, you can interrupt the pattern. How? Physical movement. Stand up, splash water on your face, do 10 jumping jacks. It sounds absurd until you try it. The physical shift disrupts the mental loop. Second tactic, externalize the voice. When your mind starts its negative spiral, imagine the words coming from a cartoon character. Mickey Mouse voice, Darth Vader voice. Doesn't matter, just make it absurd. Suddenly, "You're going to fail" loses its power when it sounds like a squeaky toy. Your brain can't maintain emotional intensity and absurdity simultaneously. Third tactic, interrogate the thought like a hostile witness. "I'm going to fail this presentation." Okay, based on what evidence? "I just know." That's not evidence. "Well, I might forget what to say." Might, not will. And if you do forget, "I guess I'd pause and remember or check my notes." So you'd handle it? "Yeah, probably." Then the disaster you're imagining isn't actually a disaster. It's a manageable inconvenience you're inflating into catastrophe. Most negative thoughts collapse under basic questioning. They survive because you never challenge them. You accept them like they're delivering news from the future. But the future doesn't exist. It's not a place, it's a concept. And you keep projecting misery onto a concept, then treating that projection like prophecy. The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, imagining worst-case scenarios. But here's what gets missed. They didn't stop at the catastrophe. They followed through. "If I lose everything, what then?" "Well, I'd still have my mind." my ability to choose my response, my character. If I'm rejected, I'd feel pain, then I'd move forward. If I fail publicly, I'd survive it. Others have survived worse. The point wasn't to marinate in disaster. It was to realize that even worst-case scenarios are survivable, that the monsters you're running from aren't as deadly as your imagination makes them. And here's what happens when you practice this consistently. Negative thoughts start losing their authority. They still show up. Your brain's not going to stop producing them, but they stop controlling you. They become background noise instead of emergency sirens. That's when everything shifts. Because once negativity stops running your life, space opens up. And in that space, you can finally build something worth having. That space you've just created. It's not empty, it's potential. And what you fill it with determines whether your life becomes something you're proud of or something you just survived. Most people never get here. They stay trapped in the negativity loop their entire lives, wondering why nothing ever changes. You're different. You're reading this because some part of you refused to accept that story. So let's talk about what comes next. Here's what nobody tells you about building a better life. It doesn't require massive overhauls. It requires tiny, consistent choices that compound over time. The problem is those choices feel insignificant in the moment. Choosing water over soda, reading 10 pages instead of scrolling, going to bed 30 minutes earlier. Your brain dismisses these as meaningless because there's no immediate payoff. But that's exactly why they work. Think about debt. Not financial debt, behavioral debt. Every time you choose the easy option over the right option, you're borrowing from your future self. Stay up late binge watching? You've just borrowed energy from tomorrow. Skip the workout? You've borrowed health from next month. Avoid the difficult conversation? You've borrowed peace from next year. And just like financial debt, it compounds with interest. The beautiful flip side, so does investment. Every right choice you make is a deposit into the person you're becoming, and the returns are exponential. One workout doesn't transform your body, but one workout makes the second one easier. The second makes the third automatic. By the 100th, you're someone who doesn't negotiate with the gym. You just go. This is where most self-improvement advice falls apart. It tells you to be disciplined, to stay motivated, to push through. But discipline is exhausting, motivation is unreliable, and pushing through eventually breaks you. You need a different approach. You need to make the right choice, the easiest choice. Environmental design. If you want to drink more water, put a full glass on your desk before you start work, not in the kitchen. On your desk. If you want to read more, put the book on your pillow. You'll have to move it to go to bed, which means you'll hold it, which means there's a decent chance you'll read a page. That's all you need. 1 page tonight, 2 tomorrow. By next month, reading before bed isn't a goal, it's just what you do. Your environment is constantly shaping you. Most people design their lives for who they were, then wonder why they can't become who they want to be. You can't become a focused person in a distraction-rich environment. You can't become healthy in a kitchen full of garbage. You can't become productive in a space that screams chaos. Change the environment first. Behavior follows. But here's the trap. You'll start this process, see some progress, then hit resistance, not from the world, from yourself. Because the version of you that exists right now, it's invested in staying exactly who you are. Change feels like death to the ego. Even positive change. Your brain will manufacture reasons to quit. It'll whisper that this isn't working fast enough, that you're wasting your time, that you should try something else. Don't listen. This is the moment where most people reset to zero. They abandon the progress they've made chasing something shinier. A new diet, a new routine, a new philosophy. They become professional starters, never finishing anything long enough to see results. You want to know the real secret to transformation? Boredom. The willingness to do the same unremarkable thing every single day until it stops being unremarkable and starts being extraordinary. The greatest achievements in history came from people who were willing to be bored, to show up when it wasn't exciting, to continue when nobody was watching, to persist when the novelty died and all that remained was the work. So you need to decide right now, are you interested or are you committed? Because interested people do things when they feel like it. Committed people do things especially when they don't. Interested people need inspiration. Committed people create momentum. Interested people wait for the right moment. Committed people understand that the right moment is always now. Let me be specific. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up and your brain will immediately start negotiating. Just 10 more minutes. You can start tomorrow. One day won't matter. That voice is your old self trying to survive. And it will sound completely reasonable. That's the danger. It won't sound like sabotage. It'll sound like wisdom, like self-care, like balance. Here's how you'll know it's sabotage. Does this choice move me toward who I want to become, or does it keep me as who I've always been? That's the only question that matters, not whether it's comfortable, not whether it's convenient, not whether it feels fair. Just, does this choice build the future I want, or does it reinforce the past I'm trying to leave? And when you answer honestly, when you see clearly what the choice actually represents, something shifts. Because suddenly you're not just deciding whether to hit snooze, you're deciding who you are. Every action is a vote for the type of person you want to become. You don't need to win every vote, but you need to win most of them. And the votes cast in the morning? Those count double, because how you start shapes everything that follows. Win the morning, and you've got momentum. Lose it, and you're fighting uphill all day. So the question becomes, what does winning the morning actually look like? It means you've eliminated friction before willpower enters the equation. You've placed your workout clothes next to your bed, so the first thing you see is motion, not negotiation. You've deleted social media from your phone, so scrolling isn't even an option. You've prepared tomorrow's first task tonight, so you wake into clarity, not confusion. Winning the morning isn't about heroic effort. It's about removing the need for heroic effort entirely. Because here's what nobody tells you about discipline. It's not actually about being strong. It's about being smart. Stupid discipline tries to overpower temptation. Smart discipline makes temptation irrelevant. Think about it. If you're relying on willpower every single morning, you've already lost. Willpower is finite. It depletes. It fails under stress. But systems, Systems are automatic. They don't care how you feel. They just run. So build systems that assume you'll be weak, that assume you'll want to quit, that assume motivation will vanish. Then build the path forward anyway. Let's get concrete. You say you want to write every day. Beautiful. What time? Where? What happens before? What happens after? If you can't answer those questions precisely, you don't have a goal. You have a wish. Goals without structure are fantasies. They make you feel productive while accomplishing nothing. So structure it. Every morning at 6 before coffee at the kitchen table, write for 20 minutes. No editing, no judgment, just words on a page, then coffee. That's the deal. Non-negotiable. 20 minutes buys you the coffee. Suddenly, you're not deciding whether to write. You're deciding whether you want coffee, and you always want coffee. See the shift? You've tied the new behavior to something inevitable. You've made it the path of least resistance. And here's the strange part. After 30 days, you won't need the coffee trick anymore. You'll write because not writing feels wrong. That's when you know the system has become identity. When skipping feels like betraying yourself. But getting there requires something most people refuse to give. Patience. Not the passive kind where you wait and hope. The active kind where you trust the process even when you can't see results yet. Because transformation doesn't announce itself, it doesn't send updates, it happens quietly, underground, invisible, until suddenly it's not. You've been watering a seed for weeks and nothing's happening. No growth, no change, just dirt. So you quit, you try something else. But what you didn't see was the root system developing beneath the surface. Intricate, powerful. 1 week away from breaking through, you abandoned it right before the miracle. That's the game. Can you keep going when there's zero evidence it's working? Can you show up when logic says you're wasting your time? Can you be delusional enough to believe in what hasn't happened yet? Most people can't. They need proof before they commit. But that's backwards. Commitment creates proof, not the other way around. Here's the test. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. Same routine, same choices, same excuses. How does that feel? If it feels acceptable, fine, stay the course. But if it makes your stomach turn, if it feels like suffocation, like a betrayal of potential, then you already know what has to change. You're just afraid of the cost, and the cost is real. Changing means losing parts of yourself you've carried for years. Comfortable patterns, familiar stories, the identity you've built around your limitations. It means admitting you were wrong about what you're capable of, that the ceiling you believed in was imaginary, that you could have done this anytime. You just didn't. That realization stings. So most people avoid it. They'd rather stay small and comfortable than become large and uncertain. But you're reading this, which means some part of you is done with small. Some part of you is ready to burn the old version down and see what rises from the ash. So let it burn. Stop defending who you used to be. Stop explaining why you couldn't before. That person doesn't exist anymore. The only person that matters is the one you're becoming. And that person is built one morning at a time, one choice at a time, one refusal to negotiate at a time. People will notice. They'll ask what changed. You won't know how to explain it because it wasn't one thing. It was 1,000 tiny things compounded over months. It was the decision to stop lying to yourself about what you actually want. It was the willingness to be uncomfortable in pursuit of something real. And here's what they won't tell you. The discomfort doesn't go away. You just get better at sitting with it. You stop needing it to feel good before you act. You act anyway, and eventually sometimes it feels good after. That's the reward, not comfort, capability, the knowledge that you can do hard things, that you can override your own resistance, that you're not a passenger in your life. You're the one driving. This is where most motivational content stops, right at the edge of the real work. They've inspired you, pumped you up, made you believe. Then they disappear. And you're left alone with the actual difficulty of changing, with the mundane, repetitive, unglamorous reality of building a new life. But that's exactly where the transformation lives. Not in the excitement, in the execution. Not in the decision, in the follow-through. Not in the moment you commit, in the thousands of moments after where you choose to stay committed. So what happens when you fail? Because you will. You stumble, you skip a day, you fall back into old patterns. What then? This is the moment that separates people who change from people who just thought about it. Failure isn't the problem, your response to failure is. Most people treat a single mistake like total collapse. They miss one workout and decide they're not disciplined. They break their streak and assume the whole thing was pointless. They fall once and stay down because getting back up feels like admitting they're starting over. But you're never starting over. You're continuing with more information. Every failure is data. It shows you where the system breaks, where your resolve weakens, what triggers pull you backward. That's not defeat. That's intelligence gathering. The difference between someone who transforms and someone who cycles through the same patterns forever. The transformer gets back up faster. They don't waste 3 days spiraling about the one day they failed. They don't turn a stumble into a story about why they can't do it. They just resume. No drama, no identity crisis, just, okay, that happened, moving forward. Your brain will try to convince you otherwise. It'll say since you already ruined today, might as well make it a full disaster. Since you broke the streak, why bother continuing? That voice is a liar. It wants you back in the comfortable cage. Don't listen. Instead, ask better questions. Not, why can't I do this, but what made that moment harder than others? Not, am I even capable? But what adjustment would make this easier to sustain? You're not interrogating your worth. You're debugging the process. And sometimes the process needs to change. Maybe you set the bar too high too fast. Maybe you're trying to overhaul everything simultaneously when one shift would create momentum for the rest. Maybe you're white-knuckling through something that could be redesigned entirely. Flexibility isn't weakness. Rigid systems break under pressure. Adaptable ones evolve. But don't confuse adaptation with excuse-making. There's a difference between, this approach isn't serving me, let me adjust, and this is hard, let me quit. One is strategic, the other is surrender dressed up as wisdom. You'll know which one you're doing by how it feels in your body. Genuine adaptation feels like relief and clarity. Excuse-making feels like deflation and defeat. So you adjust, you keep moving. And slowly over weeks and months, something shifts. The things that felt impossible become automatic. The internal negotiation quiets down. You stop debating whether you'll do the thing, you just do it. Not because you're more motivated, Because you've built a structure that doesn't rely on motivation. Motivation is gasoline. Structure is the engine. Gasoline runs out. The engine keeps running. You need both, but only one is reliable long-term. Build the engine through repetition until the behavior is wired deeper than emotion, until it's just what you do. Like brushing your teeth, you don't wake up motivated to brush your teeth. You just do it because that's the deal you made with yourself about hygiene. Make the same deal with your future. This is just what I do now. I don't debate it. I don't wait to feel like it. This is the standard, and here's what nobody warns you about. Once you actually change, once the new version becomes your baseline, you'll forget how hard it was to get there. You'll look back and think, why did I struggle with that for so long? It seems so obvious now. That's the cruelest joke of personal growth. The mountain looks insurmountable from the bottom. From the top, it looks like a hill. You'll minimize your own progress because it feels natural. But that's the point. Growth should eventually feel natural. If it still feels like effort years later, something's wrong. What you're building isn't a temporary spike of discipline. It's a new normal, a life where the things that used to drain you now sustain you, where the choices that used to require willpower now require none, where the person you're becoming isn't something you're chasing anymore, it's something you're living. And when you get there, really get there, you'll realize something strange. The goal wasn't the goal. The becoming was the goal. The version of you capable of achieving the thing matters more than the thing itself. Because that version can achieve anything. The external win was just proof of internal change. So when people ask how you did it, you won't have a simple answer. You'll say something like, I just kept going. And they'll think you're being modest or vague. But you're not. That really is the answer. You kept going when it was hard, when it was boring, when nobody was watching, when results were invisible, when you wanted to quit. You kept going, and going became who you are. That's the secret they don't put in the highlight reel. Transformation isn't a moment. It's 1,000 moments where you chose differently, where you overrode the pattern, where you acted like the person you wanted to become before you felt like that person. Until one day you realized, I'm not pretending anymore. This is just me now. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop needing to feel ready. Stop requiring proof before you believe. Just start, stumble, adjust, continue. The life you want is on the other side of the version of you willing to build it. And that version is built one unremarkable morning at a time. You've just absorbed what most people spend decades avoiding. The truth that your mind is both your greatest asset and your most dangerous enemy. That negative thinking isn't protecting you, it's imprisoning you. That every spiral, every catastrophic thought, every sleepless night replaying scenarios is a choice you're making whether you realize it or not. The Stoics didn't discover these truths because they lived easy lives. They discovered them because they lived brutal ones. War, plague, betrayal, loss. They had every reason to drown in negativity. Instead, they built a philosophy that turned suffering into strength. And now you have it too. But here's what matters. Knowledge without application is just entertainment. You can nod along to every principle in this video and change nothing. You can agree that your thoughts aren't facts, that most fears are imaginary, that you're the one creating your suffering. and still wake up tomorrow in the same mental prison. Understanding doesn't free you. Action does. So tomorrow morning, when that first negative thought hits, when your brain starts its familiar catastrophic script, you'll have a choice. You can follow it like you always have, letting it dictate your mood and drain your energy. Or you can pause, observe it, question it, recognize it for what it is. Noise, not truth. That pause, that single moment of awareness is where freedom begins. And it won't feel dramatic. There won't be fireworks. You won't suddenly become immune to negative thinking. But you'll notice something shift. The thoughts will still come, but they'll lose their grip. They'll become background noise instead of emergency broadcasts. And in that space between thought and reaction, you'll find something you forgot existed: choice. This isn't about perfection. You'll slip, you'll spiral, you'll catch yourself 3 hours deep in anxiety about something that hasn't happened and probably never will. That's fine. You're not trying to eliminate negative thinking entirely. You're learning to stop letting it run your life. And that's learned through repetition, through catching yourself 100 times, 1,000 times, until the new pattern becomes automatic. The brutal truths you've learned today aren't meant to comfort you. They're meant to wake you up, to show you that the prison you're living in has no walls, just habits you've mistaken for reality. Your thoughts aren't facts. Your fears are mostly fiction. Nobody's thinking about you as much as you think. Suffering in advance doesn't reduce suffering later. And the voice in your head that sounds like wisdom, it's often just fear dressed up in logic. So take this forward. Not as information to store, but as tools to use. The next time you're catastrophizing, remember, most of what you fear is imaginary. When someone's opinion starts to shake you, remember their words aren't facts about you. When you're rehearsing disaster, remember you're volunteering for pain that doesn't exist yet. These aren't just ideas, they're weapons against the tyranny of your own mind. The Stoics proved something powerful. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you make it mean. And in that control lies all the freedom you'll ever need. So stop waiting for your mind to cooperate. It won't. Start acting like the person you want to become anyway. Make the choice. Build the system. Keep going when it's hard. And watch what happens when you finally stop negotiating with the version of yourself that's been holding you back.